Hey everyone, Kane here, and welcome to another video of Art of Conquest. So, in this one, we will be talking about the Thunderfister Lee. So, I tested him a little bit in terms of the stream yesterday. I found out what sort of breaks this hero, but prior to calling it a guide and stuff like that, I do have to let you know that my entire formation is built around mages to do more damage. So I don't have as many buffs, debuffs, and stuff like that that would improve Lee's damage capabilities. And even then, he's able to do a lot of it. So you have to base off majority of this information that he might not have the best buffs on the field, since again, he's inserted in a mage focused formation. So with that, let's start from equipment. So, Drake said, pretty much, I think it is a requirement to have it, not because of the particular ability, but because of the 3-piece set, all abilities plus 1. I'm pretty certain that he gets a ton of damage from them, a ton of buffs, a ton of bonuses. Pretty much a must have. Now, in some other circumstances, if you may not have it, likely attack speed weapon or a stun weapon, then you might want to have, say, magic resistance, that Excalibur thing. And the third, I'm not, or rather, the other trinket, I'm not really sure what would benefit. Maybe damage reduction or maybe something DPS related, depending on other circumstances. In terms of the, say, other 3 items, I would kind of say that the Barbaric set is pretty much a must have. This hero does a ton of damage, and as the battle goes on, increasing in damage and attack speed per second is actually pretty friggin' crazy. And as the battle goes on, he scales into a bigger and a bigger DPS, doing more damage to heroes, potentially one-shotting some stuff, maybe even frontline. So I would say pretty much this set is one of the better ones, if not the best. In terms of the artifacts, there are 2 choices. So the most basic one is the Halcyon's Edge. You got attack speed, you got impart weakened armor, causing to take 20% physical damage on enemy that he damages, deal more damage for every percent of HP lost, deal bonus physical damage, and resurrect upon death. So pretty much entire artifact built around doing more damage, regardless if he's fighting a stall side or a burst side. Now there is another artifact. Some people are using Blood Moss Bite. They said the artifact is good. Other people said it's not really that good or bad. So there are a couple of nuances to this as well. So heal for 30% of the damage dealt. Now, this particular hero does a ton of damage, and damage can even go into hundreds of billions in terms of a few specific fights. So he has the capability of using this 2-star benefit in terms of tanking a ton of damage going his way. Health regeneration, he has inbuilt regeneration as well, so this might also help him out. Damage to heroes 60%. Now, this particular artifact adds a flat bonus to heroes, in such a sense that he would benefit fighting burst versus burst more than he would benefit fighting burst versus stall. And the 5th one, melee attack gains crippling effect that causes target to deal 50% less damage. Now, about that is I checked all the animations from all the abilities, and I never could figure out how far this particular ability reaches, because it is counted as a basic attack. So if this ability is able to reach Avril, then Blood Moss Bite is pretty much OP, burst versus burst. But if it doesn't reach, I would still think that Halcyon's Edge is pretty much the top artifact on this hero. Because again, he works on both sides, whether you're fighting a burst or you're fighting a stall. However, this one in particular has more effect burst versus burst. So with that, I think the clear winner is the Halcyon's Edge. Now for the Prism. I've tested the Overwhelm and I've tested the Devastating Strike, and I didn't really need to test anything else because already I know which one of these or both of them even are good, and the others will not even provide as close. So, Overwhelm. When you insert this hero into a mage focused formation with this particular prism, you're gonna be doing tons of damage to the enemy backline with your Avril. Meaning, those heroes in the enemy backline will not be 100% and will always be damaged and low HP. Which means that Lee, this particular hero, will always do more damage to them depending on if he reaches them and stuff like that. And of course, if the targets hitting Lee are low HP, they will do less damage to the particular hero as well. So you have to take that into consideration. So this this array in particular works both offensively and defensively, and it grants a ton of stats. Now, the other prism array that I have tested is the Devastating Strike. So it's one moment, should be somewhere here. Basic attacks deal additional true damage equivalent to a percent of HP the target has already lost. So when I was trying Overwhelm, it added a ton of tankiness to, say, Lee. He was able to sometimes tank quite a bit of the hero damage from the enemy, burst versus burst. But when I added the Devastating Strike, those battles, he tended to do a ton more damage, like probably twice, maybe from 50% to 100% more. However, you are pretty much sacrificing 120 million HP, which then again in the battle gets scaled by a ton of other percentages for an additional 30 million attack, I think, plus an additional DPS, array or hero bonus or whatever. Whereas you also can get something similar, well, not as good probably, but also a huge HP value. So it is a trade-off. You might do more damage with Devastating Strike, but you're exchanging that with, say, a ton of HP loss and basically making this particular hero a glass cannon. So it really depends how far your account has upgraded and, what do you require from this hero. Personally, since I'm majority of the time fighting people stronger cores or stronger accounts and stuff like that, personally, I don't think I can invest too much into making him a glass cannon, and I kinda have to use Overwhelm. But Devastating Strike did not disappoint me either, so there is some sort of possibility there, and you will have to test these two prism arrays out for yourself. Abilities, this is pretty much what I've shown before, and there is really nothing else to add towards it. Potential, pretty much this is what it should look like. Now, if you get potential 50, he will still do almost no damage. Pretty much when you unlock potential 70 and the ancestral force, he will skyrocket in damage like crazy. And that is probably because this particular Overlord Fist does not really reach many targets, probably just one target. And when you upgrade this potential, it reaches like 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe heroes, maybe more, and his damage just starts scaling like crazy. And even when he's attacking frontline on the stall side, he's damaging a ton of them instead of just a couple of them at a time. So I assume that is how his damage pretty much starts scaling to crazy levels. So honestly, if you really want to use him, you have to have potential 70. Otherwise, he will only do damage once out of like 20 battles, 15 battles, because that is what I kind of needed to just see him do something once. But after this, every single battle seems to be useful. Hero Mastery. So in terms of Hero Mastery, I gave him Arcane 10, since the ultimate also kind of makes him a beast. I don't really have any proper hero in Lich that I would require a double cast or whatever. So I might as well just do it on the bear, since say Valerie does not yet do that much damage. I might try her out real soon, we'll see, but at the moment she does not do that much. And of course I gave him a Rage 8, Might bonus and physical penetration, simply because I don't have any physical penetration or physical resistance reductions etc. on the field. So pretty much he is on his own doing this amount of damage. So, I suppose that's pretty much it in terms of how to make the particular hero work. So, in terms of the damage statistics and stuff like that. So, I have to let you know, or rather, showcase a couple of fights. So, to make more so a point in terms of the mages and this particular hero. Yes, I'm showing, say, a fight against a smaller dual tower score, but pretty much it is a showcase of heroes and what can happen. So I placed Lee in the middle, he went sideways, and he didn't touch any of the burst side heroes. So I started casting my Avril into the backline of the enemy. And as you can see, Lee is still doing damage to gladiators, but my Avril is the one who is killing heroes in the backline, right? She's doing the most damage, and Avril is still sort of like one of the bigger reasons that you end up winning PvP, because you delete the mages, you delete the buffers, and Lee is just something that's in the front line trying to bypass the gladiators as quick as possible, with the potential to maybe reach something slightly behind the gladiators with maybe Thunder Shock or whatever. But pretty much hands down, Avril is still one of the few reasons why the battle can easily be won. But when we go into the damage statistics, as you can see, Lee is at the very top, with Avril behind, and people usually are assuming that Lee is the GOAT and the only reason why battles are being won. Not necessarily the case in majority of the times, but this is just an example for people to understand. Now, another good example of his damage is in a battle that I lost. I think this was the battle during stream where I tapped out or clicked backspace and I tried to go back to my own stream page or stuff like that, where I had the chat open. So not all abilities were cast properly. I'm not sure if even this was the fight. I think I'm casting abilities too slow and stuff like that. But yeah, I casted even the lead too late. So we're gonna showcase pretty much what sort of damage Lee is able to do pretty quick. So I'm still not casting Avril in terms of the Arcane 8, I'm still buffing her up, and the frontline is taking a little bit of damage. So as you can see, the Lee casted the Pacify, and then I do think this was, what would you call, the Overlord Fist or the Thunder Strike combined together at the same time, and they did a ton of damage. Then again, I casted Avril, and the front line was being cleared at a very decent pace. However, this person was clearing my center pretty quick. My heroes were dying. He pushed Rufio into the front line, etc. As well as, again, I didn't cast proper abilities since I tried to find the page back. I mean, probably with better ability casts and without, just paying very little attention, I could have won this. But this is a good example of like what damage Lee is able to do. Yes, he carries damage, but the damage is not necessarily what is winning the battles per se. Now, to show you an example in terms of the damage done total, pretty much you can see that his damage went out the wazoo. And yes, he did do decent damage, but I doubt that he killed any heroes. And killing heroes is still like one of the bigger reasons of winning the battles, and also killing dragons. So that is sort of the difference between, say, high damage data logs and the actual performance in the battles. I don't think we're gonna have another hero like Avril that could potentially solo win fights. Like, as you can see, yeah, Avrils, they don't do that much damage because they have 6 abilities. If you use those 6 abilities better, and of course you kill stuff, that's it, right? The basic attacks of Avril is nothing, whereas this particular hero scales as the battle goes forward, and he still does more and more and more damage. So the battle lasts an entire 2 minutes, he will be the top scorer, but majority of the win usually goes to the mages still. So I kind of had to let this sort of thing know even in this guide, because many people might be confused or stuff like that, and me calling him overpowered or broken, many people would just swap other things. No, I have to let you know that he is sort of a secondary DPS, a third DPS in the formation, stuff like that. I'm pretty certain that everybody should have him in their formations. So anyways, that is pretty much it for the video. Do let me know in the comments down below if you enjoyed it, if you learned something new. If you did, do hit that subscribe button. It would help me out a lot. As well as if you would wish to support me more than just watching my videos, I have made a Patreon page where you would be able to do just that. In return, I would be able to help you out more individually in terms of events, PvP, formations, and stuff like that. As well as I would like to thank all of my patrons for the support. I really appreciate it for your subscriptions. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for watching. Take care and stay safe out there.